As we emerge from the hurt we learn, I was shattered, bruised and torn, left alone to rebuild, reborn, reborn.
Phoenix is rising, Coach T here.
You took
And
my
you know,
voice,
I
took
was
the pain,
thinking about something during this stage of my healing, and I spoke it to my AI agent, and this is what she put for me. I was trying to think of the right word, but I wrote a song because I was feeling right poetic, so I could put it into Suno, and you know. But this is a reflection on just what we want when we get out of narcissistic abuse, when the gang stalking, which is for many of us, because most of our gang stalkers are being deported, or it's no longer beneficial. Because what it seems like during this Trump era is that a lot of those benefits, those funds, right, that were used are now being or have been stopped. So, no more gift cards, no more anything. But you still have the cluster Bs, the ones who are the cluster Bs at their root, who, even though they may not have the sorority, so to speak, to um, look to, they still have each other. So, um, but it's quieter, and that's what I appreciate. And so it got me to thinking because I had done a session and I was asked some questions, and those questions led me to ask myself even deeper questions. And I have never been a materialistic person. The reason why is because it it all comes to you, right? When you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, the results are going to manifest no matter what. When you get in the ingredients for a cake, the cake, and you put it in the oven, when you take it out, it's going to be a cake, right? Um, you may change from wanting a pound cake to a German chocolate cake or a pineapple upside down cake. But it's still a cake nonetheless um, when you go and you do those things and you put in those ingredients, right? Because we're talking metaphysically. And so I've always known that. And people have tried to shame me for my knowing, because when you come into this realm, into this environment, this virtual reality of somebody else's, um the first thing that scares them is knowing that people remember and how much they remember, right? If you look into Neil Donald Walsh, he did Conversations with God, about 4 books, I think, or at least that's how many I read. I don't read only half, because after a while it was confirming. A lot of times when I ask a question, it's to confirm what I already know and try and meld those puzzle pieces together. Um, so it's not really like, oh, I don't want training, like I I don't want job training. I just want to rest before I have to go back out there into the workforce, knowing how hostile and knowing how toxic the workforce is, because you're working around other toxic people who don't wake up and pray or meditate or chant mantra. They they they're coming with whatever attacked them in their subconscious mind, and now that they're awake, they believe that whatever they thought is theirs instead of having that spirit of discernment. So anyway, and so it's toxic. But anyway, um, so I and just reflecting on back, I have never, again, never had to work for anything like that because God has always been my source and supply. The Most High has always taken care of me. And that's why people have always been jealous in my situation is because, and I would have people come up to me and just kind of stare at me blankly, eyes glazed over, um, whatever, I'm going to say that. But we're just recalling one lady, black lady, very sweet, Virgo, but she wouldn't leave, you got to leave a toxic situation. And that's what so many of us are so used to enduring, and that'll be another subject, but so many of us are used to enduring that we don't go anywhere. We're taught and conditioned that we have to endure, and because this is the only place for us, and if we don't, it's being rude or disrespectful. And a lot of us were just like, okay, well, you've already called me enough. So, out of my name, you've called me everything else under the sun but a child of God. So this won't, I'll just be rude and disrespectful in your mind, but really it's saving my own life and preserving my soul, right? And so, the cluster B personalities and which include systems, how are used to make sure that they break you down and keep you near them so that they constantly have access to you, right? And so when people find out that you are divinely protected, like you are literally that child that is being taken care of by the Most High, and therefore whatever tricks or manipulations that they've learned throughout their lives thus far will not work on you, they become jealous and they try and dull that so that you become independent on the system like they have become. It's much more than the cluster B. The cluster B is a sentinel like in the Matrix, seeking, going around seeking who they can destroy on behalf of the system, right? So I wanted that relationship that I had at the beginning, with the Most High. It doesn't mean that you have to lose your wisdom or lose your progress, but when you're dealing with the spiritual warfare, they're attacking everything that is love, that is the Most High, right? They're attacking everything. And so the question I was asked, I answered with, I just want to return to me. So this is uh what was typed out. And so for me, because I can drool on a little bit, I always have to write things out, and I love AI because it helps me to do so. Um, though I have to go back and edit it and put it into my Google Doc and do whatever, but still it takes, because sometimes you're so overload. For me, I'm so overloaded with ideas and passion and emotion and I'm so used, because that's part of the gaslighting that I'm trying to get rid of, is people pretending like they don't understand what I'm saying it because I'm black and female and lesbian. They feign ignorance or stupidity as to, or act like I'm stupid because, oh, you're not supposed to know those big words. You're supposed to talk in Ebonics. Da, 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 da. And for some reason, that word Ebonics has been coming up for me, and I'm not sure why. But this morning, this afternoon, that's what it was. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoy this. Please let me know what you think, what your experience is as when you leave narcissistic, when God takes you out of that environment, um, and you finally, bless me, thank you, and you finally get a breather, and somebody asks, hey, what would it be if you were not focused on getting justice, whether your way or God's way? What would you like back? Okay. And so this is what I said, and this is what I ended up writing a song uh about it. And as in the words of In Living Color, that one character, like to here it go. So, welcome to Phoenix's Rising Academy. I'm Coach T, and this title of the podcast is Return Me to Wonder, a love letter to my becoming. And again, please be gentle, but tell me what you think. So, I've been sitting with something, not a question I usually ask aloud, but I feel it so deep, especially now. If I let go of this fight, if I stop chasing justice like it's air, what happens to my bloodline? Would I be telling prosperity I gave up? Would my ancestors think I let them down? Would the people I lost think I folded? Today I remembered something different. I remembered what it felt like to feel love. Not love I had to earn, not love I had to survive for, not love I had to perform for. Just unadulterated, unfiltered love. The kind that shows up in the smell of rain after heat, the kind that sits with you while you watch a spider no bigger than a Q-tip head float down from the ceiling. And somehow it feels like a sign. I am still here. I still notice. I still care. I remember when I used to look people in their eyes and see whole galaxies. I remember that little kid wonder I used to feel in a grown woman's body, and I miss that. God, I miss that. A lot's been taken from me. Time, people I loved, my house, my peace, my rest. They tried to break me when I was sober, tried to kill me when I was speaking, made sure I couldn't grow up without being punished for it. But guess what? I'm still here. Not as their scapegoat, not as their therapist, not as their martyr. I'm here because I carried my whole bloodline through the fire. And they're still walking with me. They're not asking for the revenge I seek. They're asking me to live, to love again, to wonder again, to feel again. I don't want to be who I used to be. She didn't know her worth unless it was being tested. But I do now. I deserve love just for being here. I'm allowed to feel peace without being punished for it. I don't have to be ready for battle every time I breathe. I get to prepare for joy instead. This moment, this breath, this is me choosing life. Not just survival, not silence, but life. And if you're listening and you've been through some of the same, if you felt like peace isn't made for people like us, like joy skips over folks who've been through hell, let me remind you. You don't have to earn rest. You don't have to perform your pain. You don't have to carry the sword forever. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let yourself feel again. To wake up and say, I still see beauty. I still deserve softness. I still feel God, even here, even now. Thank you for sharing that with me, Phoenix's Rising Academy. From the ashes we rise, from the soul we lead, and sometimes from silence we begin again. This is Phoenix's Rising Academy. I'm Coach T, and I love you.
Used to see the stars in strangers' eyes. Now I barely look up at the sky. Everything I built, they broke broke it down. Every joy I felt got wrapped in why I walked through fire just to breathe again. I laid in silence just to sleep, but even silence ain't the end of pain. Sometimes the tears don't come that deep, but I still remember the way the air would smell after rain, the way a spider thread could dance like grace, and how my heart once sang before they taught it shame. Let me feel again, like I'm worthy of love with no condition. Let me breathe again, like the weight on my chest isn't tradition. Let me laugh without a reason. Let me bloom without a plan. I don't need to be who I was, just let me feel again. I've held the hands of ghosts in my sleep, begged the sky for signs to keep, and every step I take toward peace feels like betrayal to the grief. But what if love is not a crime? What if joy is still mine to find? What if every time they try to dim me, they just proved I'm divine? And I still remember the wonder when the world was kind, the prayer in a dark, sleepy side, the sacred way my name still echoes in the sky. Let me feel again, like my softness is my crown. Let me heal again, without needing to burn it all down. Let me dream past all the trauma. Let me rise without revenge. I don't need to be who I was, just let me feel again. I don't want war anymore. I want wind and sun and a room I can exhale in. I want my ancestors to see me sleeping and not be afraid I won't wake up.